This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Let me start by wishing you a very happy new year. And this week's programme places the emphasis very much on the environment. We hear about a potential disaster awaiting our citrus trees.
This is the reason that at this moment we are so worried that we didn't really find natural enemies that would attack and would minimize its presence. And this is what we are trying at this moment to do on a bicameral basis.
And we ask why our Environment Department keeps making repeated mistakes when it comes to allowing the construction of wind farms.
The Environment Department decided to approve, once again, the project. Then another infringement case has been launched by the European Commission due to the incorrect application of the Habitats Directive.
We're going to start the year talking about our environment, and in particular the work of the Bicommunal Technical Committee on the Environment. They have a very big job ahead of them in 2025. We're going to talk to their co-chair, Michalis Loizidis. Michalis, first of all, for people who aren't aware, what sort of things does this committee deal with, and how regularly are you able to meet?
Yeah, starting from how frequent we meet, it's actually every week. We have so many issues to resolve in our everyday life that we have to meet every week with the co-chair, Mr. Salik Yücel, a biologist and very sensitive on environmental issues. And as per the areas that we are covering actually is everyday issues. I'll give an example that we have an oil spill and we have to find a way out, or it's a fire, or it could be a fire in an industry, that we have the plume coming from north to south or vice versa, and then we inform as per what is going on, and if they have somebody to evacuate an area or anything that has to do with everyday issues.
Because it's something I've always said on the programme, and that is that we may have the green line, but the environment doesn't respect a fence or a wall or a checkpoint. And as you mentioned, smoke from a fire one side is going to come over and pollute the air on the other, and so on and so forth. Do you think most people in Cyprus understand that and the need to work together to solve these issues?
Yeah, as per what I have just said until now, actually they don't. They don't really understand that green line means nothing for the environmental scientists. For us, every day we have to deal with issues that are crossing the checkpoints. Either this means air or water or fires or contingencies, other that you can imagine, like a burst of the pipe, of the sewer pipe that goes to Miamilya in the north. So all those problems has to be dealt in a way, and checkpoint means nothing.
How much are you able to motivate and get the relevant sides in Cyprus to cooperate when there is an emergency to deal with? Because we often hear of fires and one side offers to help the other and the other side says, no thanks, we can manage. So there's a lot of politics going on as well, isn't there? How do you get over that?
Actually, if they can avoid, they will avoid it. And this is what happened a few months ago, actually, with the big fire in Pentadactylos, in the mountain, that they left it to burn everything for 2 days, almost 2 days. And then they decided they couldn't handle it, and actually we cooperated closely and we managed to put it out.
That must be very frustrating for you and the other committee members.
Yeah.
You have, I presume, to get the permission of what? Politicians to actually go ahead and help each other?
Exactly. This is very frustrating, and that's why for several issues that we can just give a call and get the information, it's very easy for us. You understand that there is a very sensitive situation in Cyprus, so you are absolutely right that it's not easy for, I will put the inverted commas, authorities or whatever, to meet. So the moment that they will not meet, they are ready to sacrifice everything for that. So you understand that, yes, there are politics, there are very sensitive international issues. So since the officers of several inverted commas department or whatever, they cannot meet, we have to do their job, actually, to go in the middle and try to find a way to at least solve the problem.
Liaising, as it were.
Liaising.
Let's come on to the issues that I really wanted to talk to you about, and that's why I asked you to join me on this week's programme. And that is invasive species that are threatening, as I understand it, our citrus fruits, our palm trees, and our prickly pears. Now, paputsosica, prickly pears, are a favourite in Cyprus, and I think possibly people listening to this in other parts of the world where they're not familiar with them will think you eat those things off cactuses. Tell us a bit more about paputsosica and the threat that this new invasive species is posing.
Yeah, let's start from the source of the problem, actually, which is actually each one of us will see something around the world and they like it. It's a tree, it's a prickly pear kind of cactus or whatever, and they bring it inside their suitcase. And actually this cannot be handled easily through any kind of check. It's very difficult if you just put a leaf or if you just put something in your bag to bring it to Cyprus. So this is how those microbes and those pests are actually coming, and the invasive species in Cyprus. It's not through importation, official importation of species. This one is well controlled. But all of those incidents that we have with invasive species is through people bringing very small quantities, a very small number of different species that they carry those pests on them.
So they're bringing them in to grow their own, basically,
exactly,
are they?
Exactly.
Now, I can't really understand that with paputsosica because you can take a leaf from any field out in the mountains. I mean, there's thousands of them. But
actually, it's just that they are those enemies for something different. Is also an enemy for prickly pears. They didn't bring prickly pears. They just brought something that carried this enemy that actually, at the end of the day, attacks prickly pears.
Okay. Citrus is the big one, but I want to talk first about the palm weevil. Mm-hmm. Now, that's been around in Cyprus, I know, for several years because you can drive along certain areas and see that the forestry department has actually put numbers on some palm trees where it's been identified. And you see a lot of dead palm trees. It's very clear, and I never did understand how a pest can work when it kills its host, but that's what this palm weevil does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and that's the amazing thing is that we didn't find a way that it's easy for everyone to reach, and it's not so expensive, and you can actually safeguard your palm tree in such a way that you can actually keep the problem away.
Well, they do say
cost.
there, I was
Yes.
going to say the expensive way is
Exactly.
nematodes, I think, isn't
Yes.
it? But I've got palm trees and I do pay, well, I can't remember exactly what it is, but 50 or 60 euros once or twice a year to spray them, just because I don't want that palm weevil establishing itself. I don't really mind, well, I do mind if it kills my trees, but it means that it will be passing itself on elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true. So you are absolutely right that it's still too costly for everyone to do that. At the moment that we are not doing it 100%, and that pest will find its way through those trees that are unguarded, and they will pass and continue its catastrophic.
Wouldn't it make sense for the forestry department to literally audit all the palm trees on the island, and this is only date palms, isn't it? Does it also affect the fan palms?
Actually, what you said is it's true. It mostly attacks
The date palms. So shouldn't they just audit every tree on the island and, if need be, spend the whole year going round and spraying? That way, if you get rid of it completely, then hopefully it's not going to come back.
You are right that it's something that we have to ask them. I must confess that it's something that we are trying to find ways for cooperation between the two communities, but I must say that I'm not an expert on this issue, so I cannot tell you if this is possible or not.
But
what they tell us is that we can do things to protect, but it cannot be spread everywhere, for each and every tree.
Now, the fact that this is sort of top news at the moment, I assume means that your colleagues in the north of Cyprus are also aware of this. How are they dealing with it?
In the same way. Those trees that they want to protect, they're, let's say, symbolic, or in areas that are tourism more, it's something that it's a productive area, then they are dealing with it with strong chemicals.
Now, palm trees, I suppose, in terms of our economic productivity, I don't think we export dates anywhere. We're very close to a lot of countries, of course, that have a much bigger production than us. But let's talk about citrus.
Excellent.
Cyprus has built its, let's say, exports of many fresh fruits and vegetables on potatoes and citrus. And it would be an absolute disaster if the acres and acres of orchards that we have become infected with this new pest. I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that at the moment we've only seen the vector that brings this pest. But does that mean inevitably it's going to arrive, or can we do something now to make sure it doesn't?
Actually, it is a pest, Diaphorina citri, it's called. It's like a moth, from what I understand. And actually, it doesn't kill the tree. But in many areas that we have seen this moth, at the end of the day, it brings also a bacterium kind of thing, that this is the one that it kills the tree. So at this moment, until now, we are monitoring, we are auditing, and we don't have this bacterium, let's say, that it's going to kill the tree. Until now, we only have this little fly that goes on the trees and creates problem with the leaves, creates different problems.
It's not the same as the citrus fruit fly that we've always had.
No, for God's sake, no. And this is the reason that at this moment we are so worried that we didn't really find natural enemies that would attack and would minimize its presence. And this is what we are trying at this moment to do on a bicommunal basis, because it's very there is an issue that if you bring different genotypes in north and south, then they can find themselves killing each other instead of this natural enemy, instead of focusing on the Diaphorina citris to kill it. So we have to cooperate in order to bring the right natural enemy, and in such a way that it wouldn't affect the ecosystem.
We have a lot of bats in Cyprus. They eat insects, don't they? Eat these things too?
No, it's something that they haven't seen in front of them, so they don't know.
So it's a bit like trying a new dish and they'd rather not.
Exactly. So we are also observing how nature will deal with it, but we are trying to assist nature. And the issue is that if nature will not react, and we have this microbe at the end of the day, then we would find ourselves in a very, very peculiar situation with exporting those products.
Well, nobody will take them for a start, even if they do grow until the trees die. What do other people in other countries where this has been, I think in the States, in Florida, where they have a huge citrus exporting business. They've had it. What are they doing to fight it?
Yes, they're boosting the natural enemies.
Which are?
Which are this very Tamatsiana, it's called. It's a kind of microbe that actually attacks the Diaphorina citri. the moth. And this is something that we brought in Cyprus. We have spread it in both communities, in both sides, and we are actually we see that it works up to a certain point, but it's it's in very early stages to say that we have succeeded to establish a community of Tamatsiana in order to keep the pest in a level that we wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, now most people with a garden or an orchard in Cyprus,
Exactly.
they have citrus trees for sure. A lot of them are surrounded by the prickly pear bushes as a sort of natural fence because it's very prickly to get through. And then, of course, a few people do also have palm trees. So all of these individual trees in small numbers in private gardens and so on, is there somewhere that somebody who has some of those trees and sees something they suspect might be one of these very dangerous invasive species can call to get somebody to come and say, yes, it is, no, it isn't? You need to know as soon as possible.
Yeah, and actually, yes, the usual defenses, the chemical defenses are working. But can we spray this in each and every yard in Cyprus, in each and every house? I mean, you are trying.
No, but is there information out there?
Yes, there is.
For example,
Yeah.
if I have, well, I only have a tangerine, an orange, and one grapefruit tree in my garden, along with 4 or 5 palm trees. I don't have prickly pears. But how do I know what to spray if I think I see these things?
Okay. As far as it concerns prickly pears, it's a bit difficult. There are chemicals, but there are strong chemicals that actually I wouldn't use them in my yard.
You'd get an expert.
Yes, I will get an expert, and yes, there are different ways. I will give them 1 or 2 solutions that they saw that it worked in for prickly pears. But if you spray them just with water or with a bit of little soap that we used to do in the early stages, just to spray and throw this white, like a flowery thing that it goes on the leaves of prickly pears, and they will immediately go down to the earth, and this is killed. It will be killed eventually. So just spraying the leaves with a bit of pressure, the one that we usually have in our houses, those pressurized
Okay,
water.
it sounds to me like you just described mealybugs. Is that, we've had those on our hibiscus for years here. Is it the same thing?
It looks the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's like alevrodi, as we call it in
So
Greek.
high
Yes.
pressure washing,
Yeah.
and with washing up liquid is
Yes,
what you use.
but if you could do it in high pressure washing in your hibiscus, the hibiscus will be killed. But for the prickly pears, it's something that we have tried it and it works.
Okay, on hibiscus, I should say, alcohol also works because mealybugs are farmed by ants in the soil, aren't they? So if you put alcohol on them, that stops the ants farming them.
Yes. But
Does the same work on the prickly pear?
Could be, but I'm just saying that I have talked with experts on this exact issue, and they told me that they have tried with the pressurized water and it works.
Okay, and what about the palm trees? We know you have to get experts because it's very specific types of spray that have to be used.
I have many friends that they managed to safeguard the health of their palm trees, and they did it with experts on this issue. So it's not that something that I would suggest that somebody could take chemicals and just throw them.
And the citrus?
And the citrus tree, it's okay. All the usual chemicals are actually working until at this moment for the big farms that they have the cultivated citrus. They have tried it; it works.
Is there?
Yes, there are chemicals that will work. But
but I have an organic garden.
Exactly the
so
same for me.
Is there anything that can be used that is not a chemical?
Until now, I must confess that I haven't heard. They didn't give us something until now that I would be encouraged to do. However, I'm sure that the experts that are dealing with organic farming, they would suggest some things. From my point of view, our effort is to, as I told you, maybe we will create infrastructure, bicommunal infrastructure, to cultivate these new, as I said, Amatsianas, and try to spread them in areas where we have the main problem.
The main thing, I think, is for people to share their experiences if they come across these things, to let your committee or the forestry department know, and hopefully we can stop this in its tracks before it starts.
That's true. That's true, and I believe in what you just said, that exactly this issue, let's say, with the high pressure, with the pressurized water, it was an observation. Okay, they tried 20, 30 things, apart from chemicals, that yes, it would work if you if you put so much chemicals and very strong ones. But what we are trying in Cyprus is to enter the organic effort, so it wouldn't have any meaning to spray with aeroplanes with heavy chemicals everywhere.
If it works and it's environmentally friendly, it's much better. Michalis Loizidis, co-chair of the Bicommunal Technical Committee on the Environment. They sure have their work cut out this year. I wish you the best of luck. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
And continuing on the environment, news in the press this week that environmental organisations Terra Cypria and BirdLife Cyprus have discovered that a wind farm in Kelia State Forest in the Larnaca district has been put on hold by the Environment Department but has now received the blessing of the department itself. This seems to happen fairly frequently, and I've asked the Environmental Policy Officer of Terra Cypria and the Cyprus Conservation Foundation to join me and discuss these issues. He is Klidos Papastylianou. Klidos, it seems that we keep getting the Environment Department changing its mind. I've lost count of the number of times this has come up. What's going on this time?
Indeed, Rose, it seems that the Environment Department continues making the same mistakes that led to the degradation of several protected areas in Cyprus. What's going on with this project is that this project concerns the construction and operation of a wind farm within the Kelia State Forest in Larnaca district and within the special protection area Koshi-Palurokambos, which is designated for the conservation of approximately 15 to 20 protected species of wild birds, including raptors, birds of prey nesting in the area. I'm stressing out raptors because if we are talking about wind farms within protected areas, the main impacts of these projects are about the collision of birds on the wind turbines and the electrocution of birds on the energy grid that has to be expanded in order to connect the renewable energy project, the wind farm, with the energy grid of the Energy Authority of Cyprus. So both impacts are more than obvious, I would say, in this case. The project has been initially approved in 2009, an era that the Republic of Cyprus was not even conducting appropriate assessments, an issue that has been repeatedly raised by the European Commission. Due to infringement cases, the first appropriate assessments started in 2012. The project continued to have a license until 2019, when the license had been expired, and then was reassessed. During this reassessment in 2019, all the members of the ad hoc committee expressed negative views. However, the Environment Department decided to approve once again the project. Then another infringement case has been launched by the European Commission due to the incorrect application of the Habitats Directive in Cyprus. The project is included in this active and ongoing infringement procedure, in the context of which a letter of notice has been sent in November 2019 and the reasoned opinion has been sent on March 2024. That means that the procedure is actually one step prior to the referral of the case to the European Court of Justice by the European Commission, the license once again has been expired without the project being constructed, and in this framework was reassessed and reapproved by the Environment Department with one more mistake on this case.
How can the Environment Department approve something that is under infringement according to the European Commission?
According to the Environment Department itself, and the new appropriate assessment report that has been published on 7th of January, if the cancel is project, then the Republic will probably have to compensate the company due to the fact that the company has development rights according to prior planning permits and environmental authorizations.
But what happens if the infringement is, what do? Approve it, whatever, by the European Commission and they stop the project? Then it doesn't really matter. The Environment Department has to comply, doesn't it?
Exactly. And the actual answer to your question is that what will probably happen is that the cost for the infringement will be on the state, meaning on citizens. So the cost, it seems that according to the Environment Department, is better to have the cost on the state rather on the company itself.
I can't get my head around the fact that if the Environment Department keeps doing this, and it's not the first time, is it, then the taxpayer is footing the bill for countless mistakes.
Exactly, and this is definitely not the only case. Rosie, just to mention that in the framework of the ongoing infringement procedure that we are referring to, there are at least 30 projects and plans included in it. This is one of the most, I would say, significant cases, a flagship case included in infringement procedure with more than obvious impacts. Again, we are talking about a wind farm within the limits of a special protection area for birds with more than obvious impacts, including collision and electrocution.
Let's just wrap this up, Klidos, by you please telling me when a company puts in an application for a wind farm, or indeed the other one that we're hearing a lot about now is a photovoltaic park, who gives the official initial approval? Is that the Department of the Environment or somebody else?
The official environmental authorization must be issued by the Environment Department, and then the official planning permit must be issued by the Town Planning and Housing Department.
And don't they do their checks before they give permission?
That's a very good question. And in this case, what should be also noted is that from April 2024 to January 2025, at least 4 out of the 6 members of the ad hoc committee on appropriate assessment, including the Forest Department, the Game and Fauna Service, Terra Cypria, and BirdLife Cyprus, have recorded a violation of at least 9 out of 12 legally binding and substantial terms of the initial environmental authorization and planning permit of this wind farm, which means that what happens if a company violates even the terms that are imposed in the framework of an environmental authorization and planning permit? What are the consequences of violating those terms? And if those terms have been violated, are there any significant impacts on the area? I would say that the answers, again, are more than obvious to anyone, even not an expert.
Klidos, we have to wrap this up. I'm not an expert, but it just seems to me that time after time after time, the same government department is making the same mistakes. And one has to ask, do they not learn from their mistakes? Or is this a policy that is actually letting certain companies in through the back door and then the taxpayer foots the bill? Because if eventually, and we hope it is, put a stop to, at least for our conservation, then, well, we're just paying all these companies to put in applications that are illegal in the first place.
Exactly, and we have also to mention that even according to the framework of licensing wind farms, both the initial one of 2006 and the existing one of 2023, wind farms should be prohibited within state forest and Natura 2000 areas.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. It's obvious that we have to follow this up. I've tried calling the Department of the Environment. I've left messages. Let's see if they come back. I won't hold my breath. Klidos Papastilianou, Environmental Policy Officer from Terra Cypria, and the Cyprus Conservation Foundation. Many thanks for clarifying yet another infringement that seems to be a constant problem in our government departments. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Elsie, as well.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.